Reporting to the media this week at Post-Executive Council Media Briefing is the Chief Secretary, Honourable Orville London.
In the first place, I think you know that within the next month, we're going to have Assembly Day celebrations. And I want to advise that invitations are now open for applications for the Chief Secretary's Award. Chief Secretary's Awards. We would have the deadline for nominations would be the 15th of November at 4 p.m. in the Office of the Chief Secretary. Application forms will be available most likely by tomorrow. And the criteria would be outstanding contributions or significant achievements within the last 12 months. I just wish to remind all those who are submitting nominations, and it should be nominations instead of applications, that the criteria would only apply for this year between the last Assembly Day and this Assembly Day. Unlike the Assembly Awards, which are really for achievements maybe in a particular year or long-standing, this one is really going to be for the calendar year between the last Assembly Day and this one. Of course, there will be other activities. The Assembly Day, as far as we're concerned, the celebrations are not just about one day. And there's the sport, the Assembly Day sport, which is scheduled for this Saturday. And there are going to be other activities, including activities geared towards sensitizing Tobagonians about the importance of assembly, the achievements of the various divisions in the Tobago House of Assembly, and of course reminding us of the contribution of Tobagonians to the development of the Assembly and of course the development of Tobago. And while we are on the subject of the Assembly, I just wish to advise that yesterday we would have met with our attorneys with respect to an action that we would have brought against the government, the central government, with respect to the reforestation program and of course the interpretation of the THA's involvement in the Green Fund and its authority over its own forests. I wish to advise that we are also looking at extending that action to include what I consider to be deliberate and cynical encroachment on the authority of the Tobago House of Assembly. Included in that would be the encroachment, I would say, in the community development, where we have the Ministry of Tobago Development organizing its own program in the communities, information going around to the various community councils and so on. We've had a promise of encroachment in education, where it is being said that $8.8 million is going to be expended in education activities in Tobago. There has been encroachment in CPEP. In fact, the minister has indicated that the funding for CPEP in the parliamentary allocations would be given to the national CPEP and not to Tobago CPEP. The funding, there's a situation with fishing. And even with respect to board appointments, we've had challenges. We note with some interest the situation with respect to the hunting moratorium and the concerns of all the various entities that this was done without any consultation and any sensitivity to the unique situation in Tobago. I would have met recently with representatives of the two hunting bodies in Tobago, representatives of the Wildlife Association. These are people who do rare wild animals and so on. And they're very interested in conservation. And of course, representative of the Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and Environment. And what was very interesting is that regardless of other differences professional or political or whatever, there was a consensus around the table that this particular situation was dangerous from the perspective of the way in which it was done and the fact that it was done without any consultation and any consideration of the situation with respect to us in Tobago. I think all the arguments have been made, documents have been sent, there have been meetings between the Secretary of the Division of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment. Letters have been written by the various hunting associations, and of course the farmers have voiced their concern. So what I have been trying to do, I have not been able to get in contact with him as yet, but I have asked my secretary to arrange a meeting with the minister with responsibility for forestry and the environment. She has not been able to contact him, but we will continue because I think there's a need for us to meet and sit and discuss this issue and hopefully come up with a solution. In fact, at the meeting, we were able, among us, to come up with a proposal that I think treated with all the issues. And the consensus was that we have to look at it from various perspectives. We have to look at it, one, from the perspective of preservation or conservation, and we in Tobago are prepared to send a very strong signal that we are interested in and willing to be in the forefront of conservation. In fact, we are looking at certain species which we consider to be in danger. Among them would be, of course, the iguana, which we feel that we should protect because it's really in danger. And then we have to now deal with the species that we consider as pests. We're talking here about the agouti, we're talking about the parrot, we're talking about the parakeet. We have to put the coquelicot in a special category because although from the perspective of the farmers it is a pest, it is also the national bird, so we treat with that. And then we said that we can then treat with the other animals and decide whether we want to use culling or we want to use hunting, whatever, in order to treat with that situation. And we're also saying that we are going to be involved in doing our own research in the Tobago context to ensure that decisions made are taking into consideration all the relevant data. We are very much committed to the precautionary approach, and therefore we will not be willing to support anything that is likely to risk the endangerment of any of the species. But we believe that in the Tobago context there is room for reconsideration of this measure, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to meet with the minister shortly in order to discuss this particular issue. I have been informed, or it has been confirmed earlier today, that the work on the agricultural complex at the Milford Road Junction should start in earnest in the middle of November, somewhere between the 14th and 16th of November. And the projection is that the complex should be completed within 16 months. The developers have made a commitment to utilize as far as possible Tobago resources and Tobago material, so that we're looking forward to Tobagonians benefiting not just from the completion of the structure, but during the construction period. As you're aware, this mill shelf project, as it is called, but it's really about providing top-class or high-end top-class accommodation for not only for the people in agriculture, but it also will provide amenities that can be utilized by other divisions like conference facilities and so on, and also members of the public. We're also hoping that one of the advantages, in addition to the employment generated during this period, would of course be the fact that you actually going to have maybe the beginning of a node, if you want to call it like that, which will intensify the economic activity in that particular area. So we are looking forward to this. It has been a long and bitter struggle, and in struggles like this there are no winners. Basically what we are treating with is how do we ensure that the particular project is completed, and that Tobagonians, especially the public servants and the employees of the division, would derive optimum benefit. I spoke to the chief administrator with respect to the TRHA board and the note for the TRHA board, because he had indicated to me that after the Minister of Health had indicated that he was not, either he was not the one or he was not prepared to take the note to Cabinet, the note was transmitted to the Ministry of Tobago Development. So I had been asking him to monitor the situation. He reported to me today that he had been informed that a note was being prepared to take to Cabinet, and that the note will go before Cabinet sometime within the next week or so. So we are going to be monitoring that situation, and we are hoping that it will be dealt with expeditiously, and that we can have a situation where within the next month or so that we can have the board in operation. Because one of the issues that we have when we have no board is that even if the secretary can, take up some of the responsibility, there are areas like the award of contracts and so on where nothing can happen, and this of course is going to stymie the work of the Division of Health and Social Service, and of course frustrate some aspects of our healthcare delivery. I want to just maybe comment on two other things. I want to commend all the Tobago participants in the National Youth Parliamentary Debate. I think all of us who, I didn't see too much of it, but all of us who would have seen the little snippets and looked at the reports in the media would have been very proud of our participants, and I want to congratulate all of them, and of course congratulate the schools that would have helped to nurture and prepare them for this event. I think I see somebody in chief secretaries and parliamentarians there, and I want to commend them. Females were quite prominent and quite predominant, so that might augur well for the future. In spite of everything else, females do have a stake and do have some hope in politics. Finally, I just want to indicate to you that our budget exercise continues, and we are going to be meeting with various sectors in the public and presenting more information as to what is transpiring in the various divisions, what we intend to deliver and how we intend to deliver it, so that conversation is going to continue. And I wish to advise that the whole purpose of this exercise is to continue our process of democratization and bringing transparency to the process. We have indicated what our challenges are, but we recognize that we have a responsibility to the people of Tobago to ensure that we indicate to them how we are going to manage their affairs with the resources that are available and the resources that will be made available. So within the next month, there are going to be other opportunities for us to interface with the people of Tobago and share with them all the information that will be necessary so that they will know what is to be delivered, how it's going to be delivered, and they can make their evaluation as to how their representatives are conducting their affairs. And on that note, I just wish to advise that the community meeting normally held on Thursday, that has been brought forward to Tuesday of next week, so that on Tuesday the 12th, we will have a community meeting. That community meeting will be held at the Blackrock Community Center. It will treat with the concerns of the residents of that electoral district, Blackrock, Wim, Blackrock, Wim, Spring Garden, Maryzilde, that area, and also the Secretary of Agriculture, Marine Affairs, Marketing and the Environment. The report will come from that particular division. Starting time as usual will be 7 p.m. and all are invited, because you don't have to be from the area to come, because as I said, we're going to be dealing with the issues having to do with that particular division. So if one, farmers, fishermen, whatever, you come, ask your questions, make your recommendations, and let us continue with this exercise to democratize and to ensure that the people of Tobago participate fully in their own development.
I noticed that in the budget that they allocated, I think it was 18 million towards the Charlottesville Beachfront project. Right now, as it stands, the project is held up in court. There's been a halt on it until certain documents are presented and whatnot. But what happens if that continues to be held up in court and it continues to be tied up? What would happen to that money?
We are allocated development funding and recurrent funding. The development funding, we know, is not enough to do all the projects which we would have, submitted based on our discussion with all the groups, and all of the projects are important to us. What we did, therefore, is that when we got the budget, as truncated as it might be, we know that we had a responsibility to deliver. Consequently, what we did is that we determined what we consider to be assembly priority projects. These are projects that we consider to be so important that the assembly, the executive council, the secretaries and assistant secretaries, take the responsibility to find money for those projects. So what we told the divisions, listen, once your project makes a list of assembly priority projects, two things. Any funding that you have allocated to that funding you lose. But you also lose the responsibility for funding the project. So that, for example, if for the Charlottesville Mini Mall, it was $2 million, we take the $2 million and take responsibility to deliver. So the funding that we would make available is, the funding that we have available we use for those priority projects. There were originally 19 of those projects. I think we will end up with about 21 or 22. And these are projects that we say, listen, all things being equal, the assembly guarantees that we are going to find the funding for those. Now, so where do we get the funding? The funding is going to come from the budgetary allocation for those projects. It's going to come from any savings we have. It's going to come from unexpended balances. And it's also going to be from any other available funding that the Division of Finance is able to take from various other areas in that particular and put it in the pool. Okay? It's a long way of answering, but I want to answer all the questions in one. So that you fund those projects. Now, the divisions now will have their own priority, because let us suppose a division has 40 projects. The assembly might take 2 or 3. You now have funding for 37 line items, none of which is able to do what you want to do. So what the divisions will now do is to pool all that money and say, okay, I might have $40 million. How many projects can I do with 4? And that becomes the division's priority projects. Now, we are doing reviews every quarter, and we're also having meetings every month. So that at the end of this quarter, we do a review of each category of projects. We do a review of our assembly priority projects. We do a review of the division's priority projects, and we do a review of the projects which we would like to do, but we don't have the funding. And in that way, funding that is not expended, or even then, funding that is not likely to be expended in the calendar year, that funding will then go to some other project. So for example, let us suppose this thing had a 12-month cycle. It was to finish in 12 months, and we're going to spend $18 million. It's not that we're going to take away the $18 million, but when we check and we look at the project cycle, we realize that in this fiscal year, that project is not going to be completed. Therefore, we might only spend $10 million. So we know we have $8 million to put on another project. So what we're trying to tell our employers, the people of Tobago, listen, whatsoever we have, we are going to try to spend it as efficiently as possible, and that is why we're doing the consistent reviews, so that the money is not going to be, wasted or just put in a slot, and because we assign it to that, it remains there. That is why we spoke about the quarterly review.
With regards to the laundry, the TRH's laundry in Shaw Park, we got to understand via a release that its commissioning date was from October 14th. I just want to get some information if that is taking place and if there's an official date for the opening of that laundry.
I got something here from the TRHA, which I would read to you. It's dated the 30th of October. Further to the update on October 1st, 2013 on the commission of the infrastructure and equipment for the hospital laundry, the project manager has indicated that critical aspects of the process has been completed despite the challenges faced in completing the process by the end of October. A review of the phases completed and an amended commissioning schedule are hereby presented with the ongoing aspects highlighted. Final commissioning schedule. The following checks were successfully completed. Standby generator has been tested and deemed functional. Utility lines have been made operational. We checked compressor air, whole and hot and cold water line testing of the seam lines completed on October 20th. All 6 pumps have been checked and are in great working condition. Ozone wastewater treatment plant. The company is here today and reviewing systems to make it operational. Arrangements are underway to complete the EMA certification. D, laundry equipment manufactured B and C to return the week of November 11 to complete commissioning the laundry equipment in terms of staff training. The training to take 8 days in the first instance. There are no damages to any of the equipment, and Mr. Edwards has confirmed thus far that the pumps, generator, compressors, and boilers are in excellent working condition. Now, basically, and I'm only inferring here because I just got this from the secretary, is that the process, the commissioning process has already started, and that they're commissioning various pieces of equipment. But I think if I read this correctly, the staff training is really what is going to be the final phase, so that all this equipment that has been tested, you now have the staff ready to make them functional. So if we're looking at the week of November the 11th and you take an 8-day training period, then it means that these people should be ready sometime in the last week of November, and of course the final phase of the process should be completed. I'm just inferring from what I read here, and this came from the CEO of the TRHA, because I want you to bear in mind that is the TRHA that has responsibility for the laundry, and that a laundry of that type, where you're using cutting-edge technology, does require one very, very careful testing, because you got to make sure that the equipment is functional, because so that you don't take on liability after the equipment has been handed over. And then, of course, that you have competent people, well-trained people to treat with it. So that I get the feeling that the process is one that, you can't say it's a day or a week and so on. It's an ongoing process. And based on the information coming here, things are going according to plan.
What is the current situation with the reforestation workers?
As far as I'm aware, the ministry is still employing reforestation workers. My last information is, I don't know the situation, that most of them were being employed on private and inverted commas lands, right? The Tobago House of Assembly still has its reforestation program where its workers are employed in the forest, if you want to put it that way, right? But I think both programs are in fact operating.
While you indicated that the reforestation workers are working for the THE and also the ministry, what about CPEP?
I'm not aware of a CPEP workers in Tobago. I know that Mr. what's his name? Mr. Kuka was in charge of, was placed in charge of a unit. Whether that unit did anything and employed anybody, I'm not aware.
Thank you for tuning in to another Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council media briefing for the week ending November 2nd, 2013.